Taryn will trickle in when she can.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good. So play a little intro music. I don't know if you're a big music fan, Stan, but this might, I don't know. Okay, here we go.
It's time for the show that brings the magic right to your speakers. Ears up!
What's going on, everybody? Ears Up Podcast. We are back in the studio, and let me tell you something. My nerves are shot. I have done more this week to plan for a show than I even think when Rolly was on. But I'm probably more nervous, I think. I don't know why. But we have the great legendary Stan Freese on the show with us today. And I read his book, which is a weighty tome. It is over 400 pages. It's called Music, Mayhem, and the Mouths, My Tubazar Life. And I tell you what, Stan, welcome to the show, and your wife Tara, welcome to the show, both of you. We're just going to get right into it. Usually I like to flutter around a little bit, but you're too important. You don't need to hear all my commercials we gotta do beforehand. So we had Rolly Crump on. God, I was a couple years ago. It was before the pandemic, Eric. So what was
it? It was. I
17.
Oh gosh, no, I don't. I think it was later than that, but
okay. And I read his book. It's kind of a cute story, I believe is what it's called. And I will put his book right next to yours, Stan, as far as readability and conversational. Like, I'm not a big reader. I just kind of lost that. And but I read your entire book cover to cover, and it's great. It's fantastic. You have this way of writing and compiling your stories that it's just so easy to read and conversational.
Oh, great.
How long were you working on this?
4 years.
Yeah, 4 years on and off.
Wow.
That's
a long time. That's a long time.
4 years.
Yeah, it's wonderful, and look, not much gets me to laugh. I'm too cynical. I'm too critical. But I'm like laughing out loud at this book, and my wife's going, "What are you laughing at?" Because it's weird. Why am I laughing? It's not my joke. Why am I laughing? And I'm like, because it's funny. You have some quips and you have a way about you, and we'll get into that a little bit. But I want to talk to you because your journey through Disney history, through not only opening Walt Disney World down in Florida with the band, but then coming to Disneyland, it all centers around the tuba. And your story is probably well told by now, but I would love to hear the story from you, how you got involved playing the tuba, because it doesn't really feel like an instrument, a child would want to play.
Okay. So I grew up in Edina, Minnesota. And when I was in fourth grade, the band director from the junior high came and talked to the assembly, and he showed us all the different instruments and, said that later on you guys can pick what one you want. And so I naturally wanted the tuba, because when my dad was a band director and I was little, he would put me in the sousaphone and march me around for fun with his students. And so, it kind of went from there.
And your friends bet you some money.
Oh, yeah, that's what happened. Pete Crispo bet me 50 cents that I wouldn't do it. And, that was a lot of money back then. so anyhow, I did it. And that's the end of that.
And so, and that's how you got into the band. They were just handing out instruments, and they're like, whoever wants to play, whoever has an interest, just
more or less.
Okay. Yeah. Man, that's so opposite of my experience. I was maybe third or fourth grade, and I wanted to be in the band at the elementary school. And they got us all in the multi-purpose room, and they played tapes, and they gave us sheets of paper, and they said, determine which notes are sharp and which notes are flat.
Oh.
With no training, with no hey, here's a primer. And so I failed because I don't know. I'm hearing it's like a hearing test. I guess, I don't know. So I'm just guessing. And I wasn't allowed in the band.
No.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. And then, later on in middle school, I'm like, hey, Dad, I think I want to do the band. I want to play the drums. He goes, no. He's a Greek. He's Greek. He goes, you're going to play the clarinet because you can play a lot of Greek songs on the clarinet. And I said, I don't want to do that. But I ended up playing the clarinet. So it's a very different story. I made no money, pissed my dad off, and I had to play an instrument I didn't even want to play.
Yeah. What could be worse?
Yeah, I know, right? No wonder I didn't really learn anything. But you had very supportive parents growing up, as opposed to mine. It sounded like your dad and your mom really encouraged you to play along, and you came from a musical family. And how was that? How was that environment growing up in a family that was like okay with this giant loud horn wrapped around you? They were cool.
Well, what we would do is my dad would take a beginning cornet solo and transcribe it for tuba, because the tuba solos back then, there were very few that were published that were exciting. So that's kind of how that happened. And then, like I say, Keith Critchlow bet me 50 cents and put them together, and there you go.
I love that. Yeah. And speaking of laughing at your book, this paragraph, you talk about your dad reinvigorating himself on the long days, driving around. Dad would periodically get out of his car, open the hood, grab a spark plug, shock the hell out of himself, and then keep on driving.
Yeah, that's when he was in high school, and he was in school every day, but he was playing at night in one of the little towns next to it. So naturally he'd fall asleep. So what he would do is just get out of the car, grab a spark plug, knock him on his butt, and then keep going. Yeah. I mean, I'm proud of him for doing that.
His own joke.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's a synthetic caffeine, I guess. I don't see nowadays you could just go to 7-Eleven and get a mini thin and you're fine. Like you don't have to, and then the next line or the next paragraph under that, which made me laugh as well. Mom was a talented vocalist and pianist, but her real passion was basketball. The most unexpected combination of words I think I've ever read. I love that. And you just talk about your mom draining threes all over the place. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, she was a basketball player, boy.
And she's only what?
She's 5'2".
Yeah.
God.
But she was fast.
Sure. She's like the Scottie Pippen of the Midwest.
Yeah.
So this is fun. So Stan's mom, Stan goes out back there, and she's, at this point, she's 90 years old or so, and she's still living in her house, and she's got her basketball hoop outside the house, and she goes out there and she plays basketball at night. And Stan's like, Mom, why are you going out there at night? And she said, well, look at me. They'll think I'm crazy if they watch me in the daytime. And Stan's like, well, Mom, what do you think they're going to think of you if they see you doing that at nighttime, So
I love that story. I love that anecdote because it's very prim and proper on the one hand, but also rebellious on the underside when no one can see it.
Properly.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. I feel that sort of runs through Stan and runs through your life, your career at Disney. I want to get in some of the practical jokes you guys played, but you went through, the whole, I don't know if it's a standard band childhood. You played in the Rose Parade.
Oh, yeah.
1956
going into 1957, I was 12 years old, and they had me in the high school band marching, and back then it was 6 miles, and I had this big con sousaphone, and the band director would take the band out for weeks before that parade and march us around to get us in shape, which was a great idea, except it was winter. But yeah, so it was a lot of fun,
Was that your first time coming to California on that trip?
Yep, it was.
Yeah,
I was on Lawrence Welk when.
But that was about the same time. You're 14 when you're on the Lawrence Welk. I think it was after that.
Okay, I guess I was after that when I was on the Welk. So
look, if Tara says it's after, it's after. You don't argue with her. Yeah.
I know. I've heard the story so many times. I think I was there.
Well, you got it down pat. I'll tell you. You're doing great. So yeah, you're on Lawrence Welk. you're sort of gaining popularity. You were obviously already very good at the tuba. Is that your work ethic showing, or is it, how much of that is natural talent versus the love of the tuba, the love of
Well, it's a combination of both. You know, I loved the sousaphone, but you know, it was a combination of both, I would say.
Okay. I love that. I have the love, but I don't have the work ethic. I've been trying to play the bass guitar for like 5 years, and I just have to use tabs because I can't read music. And I'm like, I'm at a wall. I'm frustrated. And then I realized, oh, because I'm not trying hard enough. Like I'm not actually playing. I'm going, oh, I get the song sort of correct. It's fine. Let's move on to something else. I always want to learn the next thing, but I have a really hard time buckling down and learning one thing at a time because I get tired of it easily. And I don't know what that means about me.
That's great. Well, it means that you're smart and you want to just keep moving on.
See, Taryn, I'm smart.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm
Sure.
smart. Yeah, Eric, what do you think of that? I'm going to clip that and we're going to play that. The new intro to the show is Stan telling me I'm smart. So what I found cool in your story is you were doing well enough as a musician in college. You bought a car. Like you were doing so well gigging that you bought yourself a car. And
in college, no less. That's
in
pretty
college.
good.
Yeah, that's pretty great, man. Did you know at that point you wanted to be doing music full time, or was it still just kind of like something you were just good at? And
no, it was full time. That was in my consciousness.
Okay.
And the car that I bought was a Corvette.
Ooh,
So,
dude, can you
very
imagine?
college kid car? I
See,
love it.
yeah, sure. Yeah, the most college kid. And this is why I put Stan spiritually with Rolly Crump, because Rolly was kind of a badass in a you know, if Rolly bought a car for it would be a friggin' Corvette too.
Yeah.
I mean, that story of him, I don't know if you know this, Stan, but he has a story about how he took some secretary at Disneyland on a date once. I think it was a date, I forget. But he dropped her off. They were riding his motorcycle, and he rode into the office and dropped her off at her desk.
That's ridiculous.
And then rode out. And I'm like, dude,
that's my kind of guy.
that's exactly what I'm saying, man. The whole thing, I'm just going, oh, this dude, if we can get Stan and Rolly together in a room one day. I know we can't, unfortunately, but it just, yeah, the two minds think alike, man.
Oh, man,
So
that's great.
You're cruising through life. You go to Edison, I believe it was Edison High. For the
I went to Edina as a student. We lived in a suburb there called Edina, but I taught at Edison High School at the high school band.
Yeah, you were the marching band leader, and you document a little bit about how you sort of came and revamped that music program. And I think that's where your love really kind of shines through as far as it's almost like the world outside of the music. It's the music itself is good, but then the sort of community surrounding the music, especially igniting the passion in music with the young kids. It was almost like a cooler version of the Bad News Bears, where like you came through and you tightened everybody up. You gave them uniforms that they could breathe in. And, you know, and did that sort of go, okay, this is the direction I want to go. And I want to teach people about music also.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that in the Edison thing was really great because they hadn't had a band director there for a couple, 2 or 3 years. They had a math teacher that would come in and teach the band. And that didn't, you know, that was what it was. But so I was like a welcome sight, which made my life easy, you know.
Then that's also a common thread, I think, where you just, it feels like every job you go into, especially at Disney, that, and I'm sure that it wasn't this easy, but it felt like people were like, oh, Stan, yeah, we have confidence in Stan. He can do this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Well, just because I was a great talker, I could convince people of anything.
Yeah, you're a good salesperson.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I know we're sort of, you know, jumping through. If I had time, I would go through every word of this with you, but you know, I don't want to keep you too long. But I just want to hit some highlights before we get to the park stuff. You toured the Soviet Union. I think it was like 10 weeks or something like that.
right, with the Minnesota band.
The Minnesota bit, yeah. And
Right.
what struck me for that is like it didn't seem too far away from like the House Committee of Un-American Affairs or whatever that whole rigmarole was, like the Red Scare in like the late 50s and early 60s. Did that thought ever come to you where it's like, hey, maybe I'm spending some time in Russia, I might be labeled some sort of communist, or the FBI is going to have a file on me, or
No, not at all. They'd never had a tuba soloist over there. They'd had tuba players, obviously, and all the orchestras, but a tuba soloist was not happening. And so when I came in and did solos on the tuba and technical stuff, that got their attention.
Okay, yeah, because that would concern me. That's me. I would be worried, like, oh, what's everybody going to think when I come home? Then I, love Russia. Then I'm some sort of red. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you a funnier one. When I took the tuba that day, and I came home and told my folks, my dad was very encouraging, and I found out later it was because he thought for sure I would quit the tuba. He said, "Sure, go ahead, Stan." But so he was very supportive, and so was my mom, thinking that I would do it for a couple of months and then wise up.
Yeah, it's very easy to support your kids when you think that they're just not going to follow through with it because they'll see. But you showed them you were in Russia, for God's sakes. Your room, again. Look, I'm going to say this a lot during this show, but buy this book and read it, because there's a great story of Stan's time in Russia. And Stan, the KGB bugged your room.
Yes.
Can you tell me what you did to get back at them, please?
Nothing. I didn't find out until the next day. But my interpreters, who I became close friends with, said, we're not bugging your room because we expect some kind of a secret to come out about atom bombs. We're bugging it because we want to know what you thought of the meals, or what I thought of their hospitality. So they used it as that.
Tell them about the bedspread, though.
Oh yeah, okay. Get this.
Yeah.
So I go in at the first day, and there's a beautiful gold lame bedspread, and I said to the guy I was rooming with, I said, "Man, if this was America, I would swipe that damn thing." And we all laughed. Then we went to eat and came back. The bedspread was gone.
Oh no! They didn't trust you.
Oh no!
They beat me to it.
They beat you to it, man. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. So the word spreads in America, I suppose. When you come home, you get invited to the White House to meet Nixon and perform in the Rose Garden. How was that? How was that moment?
Actually, unbeknownst to me, the White House people were real interested in the tour, and we didn't know that at the time. But they wanted to know exactly. It was all a big deal to them. They wanted to know the ins and outs and whatever. And so they could do by listening, by watching me, they were able to get a little better grasp on how Americans thought Russian food was.
Stan, we need you to get a recipe for borscht, please, and bring it back. That kind of makes sense. You're on a 10-week, I believe it was, tour. Probably more time spent there than anybody in the White House.
It was like a research project.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, the interpreters, after I got to know them, they said, if you can keep a secret, we need you to explain what some of these American slang words are. So I said, well, okay, here we go.
All the X-rated words. Right?
Oh yeah, shit, yes, they were all, So
like,
yeah,
can you give me one?
What?
Can you give me one? What was a word that needed help with?
Oh,
F word.
Yeah, the F words.
Really?
Oh wow.
Yeah. What is F? Oh my God. I absolutely love that. I have a little bit that I stole from your YouTube page of audio of the Rose Garden
Uh-huh.
concert. Can I play that real fast?
Sure.
All right.
For you, the Carnival of Venice, Mr. Stanford Freese.
That sounds too hard for me.
Sounds impossible.
I can't do that. I couldn't do that, man. Sounds great. I'm glad you have that, because reading your book, I'm like, I wish I could find some of these. And, I just turns out you just had to use Google. I love that.
Yeah.
So in your book, you come back from that trip and you mentioned that life sort of felt small. How did you wrestle with that? You felt like there was more going on. You just didn't necessarily feel the same joy. Is that what it was? Or what was going on when you came back from that trip?
I don't recall having that emotion, but when I got back,
Yeah,
it was all of a sudden I was a star for a couple of weeks.
yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Carnival of Venice at the White House.
That'll do it to you.
Yeah, that did it. So
Okay.
anyway, that was that.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. And so eventually you moved to California. We're going to fast forward a bit, and you get the call to go to Disney World.
Yes.
How did that call come about? And what was that transition like for you as a Midwest kid bouncing from California and then shuttling off to Florida?
Well, I went out to California after the Russian trip because I wanted to be a studio musician.
Yeah.
So that would be the only place in the world to be a studio player. And so that's what I did. I was wanting to be mostly a studio player.
When did Jim Christensen call you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Jim Christensen, who was the band director of Disney World.
Disney World.
It hadn't been open that long, but he came from California, Disneyland, and went down there.
Okay.
And so he found out about me being in California all of a sudden and asked me if I wanted to go down to Disney World and be the band leader. Mm-hmm. And I went, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
So that was fun. That was, it all worked just great. I really had a pretty charmed situation in most of my life. So, and it's still that way, lucky me, but, so it worked.
Yeah. Well, and you talk about, and when you're telling the stories about being in Florida, getting the band sort of ready for the opening, the whole time I'm going, what is this kid doing in Florida? It's hot in Florida and muggy. Like, what's going on? What's the band schedule like in Florida? As far as the heat and the humidity, how was navigating all of that? That had to have been really tough.
It was tough. That's why I left after 2 years, came out to California.
Smart decision.
Yeah.
About changing the shoes every day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was so hot and humid that our uniforms, by the end of the day, we had sweat through our white shoes and, sweat through most of our uniform and just had to change uniforms every day. So it was wild, man. It was just hot and humid.
Dude.
And, yeah.
Bless the laundry service at Disney World. I mean,
That's
imagine
how your musicians, the ones that you first hired, they quit after.
Oh yeah, get this.
Oh.
So Disney World.
Yeah.
We've been auditioning musicians for 6 months for that job. And so once the job started and everybody found out that it was a drag because you were hot and humid and marching with a uniform on.
Right.
So, it was like no good. So
Yeah.
I quit.
No, well, they quit. But
Yeah.
they-
Oh, yeah. The musicians quit for sure. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, where I had a lot of time to go find musicians around the country, all of a sudden we didn't have time, and they were dropping like flies. So one of the things I did was to go to Washington D.C. and get the musicians from the service bands that were ready to retire. And
Mhm.
so I found that out through people. And then I would talk to them and say, hey, once you're done with this, why don't I hire you and give you all this money? And we go to Disney World. And they were already used to hot, humid, and
keeping their hair short.
yeah, keeping their hair short. Back then, that was the deal. You know, people didn't want to cut their hair back then because of the Beatles. And so,
That's what it was? Wow.
yeah, it was nuts.
Crazy, man. Okay. Well, it sounds like you had a tough time, which is what I would expect. Not everyone's going to be cut out for marching around in Florida, playing multiple shows a day. And, one thing I did learn from your book is what I didn't know is that the bands at both Disneyland and Disney World divide up into, you call them breakdown groups. So
Right.
some of the bands that you see playing around are just members of the band, not just, but, and they're just playing in atmosphere, jazz, or
Well, I would have a Dixieland band because everybody likes Dixieland.
Sure.
And that was one of the groups. And another one of the groups was a sax quartet. And I got music from Jim Christensen for that. So they would go out on the street dressed as policemen, and they were great saxophone players. And so it gave us yet another new kind of idea for our guests because they had never seen something like that, So it worked.
This might sound like a dumb question, and I apologize, but what is what's the average talent level of a band member in a Disney band?
It's really top.
Yeah.
They've got to be able to sight read like crazy. Then they have to be able to work at Disney. They have to be able to play Dixie, and jam, and just so you couldn't find a lot of people that were able to do both of those things. So I was lucky, but I had to work at it.
Yeah, you talk a lot in your book about traveling around and weeks at a time finding people to come fill a gig or two, or a slot or two, and it sounds like you had an ear for it because luckily a lot of people you seem to work out.
Yeah, it's lucky.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, there's talent too. You can't you can't forget that. But yeah, and I don't know what it is, but about when I see people in a band, I think that's the only type of music they can play or they're good at. And I don't know what that is about me, but that's what I think. So I think, okay, there's a marching band. There's no way they can play, the banjo or, you know what I mean? To do this kind of thing. But that's what I think a lot of people don't understand maybe about musicians, or maybe it's just my own sort of weird anxieties. But yeah, it sounds like to be in one of these bands in the Disneyland band or Disney World band, you have to be top at what you're doing. You have to be top and at a variety of even instruments too, I would imagine.
Yep, exactly. So they would what we call double. So a trombone player would double on the baritone, and oftentimes then included the sousaphone or the tuba. And then the woodwind players had to own and play piccolo, flute, clarinet, alto, tenor, and bari. And it's hard finding people that were good at all those, but I did, and it was called doubling back then. But so I would have to find somebody that could do all that, and it was tough. It was tough.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then not faint from the heat.
Yeah,
the humidity. My wife and I went there in September, and I remember, man, walking around even at midnight. We had a big a glass of rosé or whatever at the pool. I'm like, this is hot. I'm almost can't do this. Where you're in the pool at the resort, going, am I swimming or is it just humidity outside? I can't really.
Yeah, that's about it.
I couldn't imagine doing what you guys did. That's insane. That's craziness, man. That is absolute craziness. You have some really good stories about opening Disney World, and specifically, we don't have to get into it, but specifically the pigeon incident that you talked about, where they used to release pigeons,
Yeah.
and one didn't make it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, so they would do that at the retreat ceremony. So I would have the band in town square standing up around the American flag. And then our security people would come take the flag down. They had uniforms. And then we would play some patriotic music. And it was just a nice little patriotic 15 minutes, you know.
Is
Yeah.
that where you released the?
Oh, yeah.
the
So that,
pigeons, or
yes,
was it
yeah. So anyhow, there's a part of that was we had a bunch of white pigeons in a cart, enclosed cart. And then halfway through, they would lift the gate up on all those pigeons, and they would fly down Main Street. But one day it was wet and it was raining. So they opened it up, and naturally the birds were wet. And so they flew right into the band, right into the cymbal player.
Oh,
And the funny thing was that he ba ba da ba ba crash bang, and he held the cymbal up, and a pigeon hit it, broke its neck, and it's flopping around.
Oh, kids screaming.
People
probably.
are screaming, you know, they think that I'm like, you know, the worst. And yeah, so that was horrible, just horrible.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, right. Yeah, seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah. God, that's like something at Universal, like horror nights or whatever,
Oh,
you
that-
know, the
that is-
mutating band leader.
That is so
Yeah,
funny. Though.
Right.
Also, that poor symbolist, you know, like what a traumatizing. I don't know if I could pick up a symbol at that point after that. I'm like, no, I can't. Or
Yeah.
indoors only.
Well, and everybody's
Yeah.
screams are directed toward that guy. Oh, that's
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, when those pigeons broke their neck and they're flopping around my feet. You know,
God.
horrible. Kids were screaming, and I didn't know what the hell to do, you know, so I just kept conducting and
Show
made the
must
best.
go on, brother. The show must go on.
oh
Yeah.
In
Totally.
your book, you talk a lot about pranks and being funny, being a funny guy. What got me was you played down Main Street in Disney World. You played the theme to Deep Throat,
Yes.
the infamous porn movie. And I don't obviously have your version, but I've never seen Deep Throat, Taryn. I want you to know that. My lovely wife here, Taryn, I've never. But
I've only seen it 3 times, so
well, you had to for research purposes, and that's okay. It's not perverted if it's for music.
yeah.
Well, here it is. Here's the theme.
okay. Oh,
I mean, classic porn music. It's kind of good, honestly. It's not played well, but it's kind of good.
Well, I was proud of the fact that I could march the Disney World band down Main Street playing the theme song from Deep Throat. And the band was the only ones that knew that really that was it. So I'm laughing my ass off all the way down Main Street because we're playing Deep Throat and the people are clapping, you know.
Thank goodness your bosses didn't know.
Yeah, right. So anyhow, that was kind of a fun thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And you only did it that one time, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like and you talk about the luck of the freeze in the book. I feel like that's pushing the luck of the freeze a lot because, and you know, you say you sort of had one up on people because if they came to you and said, dude, what are you doing? That means they've seen the movie more than once to pick the song out, right?
yeah.
So then they're exposed as a pervert,
Yeah.
you know?
Nobody can say anything.
Yeah, but you can't push that too many times.
No.
So you saw it a couple times. You arranged the music,
Right.
play as like a marching band gig or whatever.
Yeah, we arranged the theme song from Deep Throat into a marching band tune, and which is fairly easy to do, you know.
Oh,
and
sure.
then that would put us marching down Main Street playing Deep Throat, and I was loving it. I never got caught, but
Oh man, I wonder how many dads are standing by and just like, like when you see like an X and you're like, oh, you freeze, no pun intended. And you're like, oh my God, what is, am I being called out? Am I singled out as being an unholy pervert?
Yeah,
that'd be,
kind of.
yeah. Oh, man, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Another prank that I wanted to cover because it was great. You had your birthday in Disney World, and the musicians thought it was good to bake you a cake. But the cake wasn't a normal cake.
Right here.
No, that was World and here.
Oh, both of them.
And they
no.
they loaded it up with marijuana.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. So they made a big deal out of giving me this birthday cake down in the band room, and the other guys knew what part of the cake to eat so they wouldn't get stoned. I didn't. So, so I'm eating all this cake, and then I'm stoned, man. I can't figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was kind of a fun deal.
Is that when you got the
Yeah.
Yeah. You go, the band began walking out of the band room when I suddenly got a case of the giggles.
Oh, yeah, from pot, from smoking the dope.
Then the giggles turned into uncontrollable laughter.
Right. I didn't even know that marijuana could do that to you. So,
is that your first time with eating pot?
Pretty much. I grew up in Minnesota, so yeah, it was fun. It all worked, and I didn't get caught. And
neither did your.
Yeah, neither did the band.
But you had to go lead them over at one of the like Carnation Place or something like that, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So then I had a concert at Carnation Gardens, which is at the end of Main Street in front of the castle. And so they announced, the band got on stage, and then they announced me, and I come on. But the problem is I can't stop laughing. So they introduced Stan Freese, the Disneyland Band, and I can't stop laughing because I'm so stoned.
Yeah.
And it was interesting.
Didn't everybody come over because everybody else knew that?
Oh yeah, that's right. The other bands had heard that I had done this, and I was stoned. So they all took breaks at the same time, came over to Carnation Gardens to watch me. Yeah. So I came on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Stan Freese. I came on stage and I saw everybody out there, and I just started to laugh uncontrollably. And I wanted to stop.
Who took over?
They played by themselves.
Oh, they would say they're so like, oh, we better kick this off.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that really was the case in another concert that I got up there and was stoned and started the thing. What was it, Tara?
I think that you mean the one here in California. That was back here. That was another birthday thing they did to you.
Yeah.
Man.
The birthday cake.
Yeah, they love feeding you drugs.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you were a miserable person to work with anyway, so they had to make you laugh.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. No, one thing, in your book, it sounds very much like you were universally loved, but also strict because you had a standard that you wanted everybody to live up to. And how is that with musicians? I know they can have a reputation of sort of, like herding cats. Maybe that's just drummers. I don't know the thing, but it's like there's there's a lot of that. But how do you keep them solid and still gain their respect?
I hired them that way.
Smart.
I auditioned people, and then I got people's reputation and rumors and everything, and so I would then have the advantage of hiring musicians that weren't going to get loaded every day. Yeah. And so we did. I was lucky. I was really lucky.
Yeah, it sounds like it. But you were able to craft that and put that together. I mean, it's almost like you could write another book just on management.
Yeah.
The way that you talk about going to bat for your musicians, even sometimes against corporate.
Always.
Oh, yeah, always.
Yeah.
I always had at Disney because, because I respected the corporate thing, and the fact that we weren't that, I had to kind of figure out how to impress the corporate deal and still keep these crazy musicians happy. But I kind of knew how to do it. And I think part of that's being from a small town in Minnesota, and I just kind of learned, and it was easy. The musicians, professional musicians usually are pretty cool because they've gone through, years of practice and being laughed at and can't get a job. And so I kind of knew all those things, and I played up to them, and they were impressed. They had fun.
Excellent. Okay. That makes sense. There's a lot of respect, going both ways. And I suppose that's the key. It's also Minnesota nice. It apparently is a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really is.
You talk a lot about, so when you're in the band, you start transitioning into booking acts for Disneyland.
Right.
You booked Tinkerbell. You booked the lady who eventually went on to be Tinkerbell for like 20 years or something like that. It was like the one that flew across from the Matterhorn.
Right, exactly.
I think it's amazing. That's awesome.
What I did is I went to the circus, and I talked to the Barnum and Bailey people, and I said, here's what I need. I need a small female that has a lot of guts and will go up on the top of the Matterhorn and jump off and go down that big wire all the way down, to partially Main Street.
Yeah.
And so by getting a circus woman, that was the thing to do. I mean, they were used to that stuff. And so I had made a correct decision there.
Absolutely. Sounds like it. I mean, she lasted 20 years or whatever. And that's a long time to be strung up on a wire, man.
You're exactly right. Yeah. Okay. Get this.
Yeah.
So we're going to have, it was 4th of July or something. New Year's Eve. That was it.
Okay.
And the Mickey Mouse was a guy by the name of Paul Castle. And he had been with the circus, and he was kind of an older guy. But I needed a midget like that.
New Year.
Yeah, a baby New Year. So I dressed him up in diapers and told him not to wear a shirt. And then I got him up on the top of the Matterhorn and was ready to push him off. But he got up there and he looked down and he went, "No frickin' way. I'm not going to do this." And so I said, "Come on, man, you got to do this.
Yeah,
there's all these
watching.
people, watching us." Yeah. So he's yapping and he's going, "I'm not going to do it." And I just went and pushed him. So he didn't have a choice. He was already wired
Okay.
up.
Sure.
And so I just kind of picked him up and tossed him. And he's screaming all the way down and flaming. His arms and legs were just flying uncontrollably because he was petrified that he's going to die. But he went all the way down. It worked, but he never spoke to me again.
Was it worth it?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Because it sort of works. The baby would be crying and flailing its arms. You might as well, it all worked out.
They can do your.
Tell him the other Paul Castle story about over at Carnegie.
Oh, get this. So we would do, the Disneyland band would do a sit-down concert every day over at Carnation Plaza. It had a real nice stage. And so.
Was it for a group of second graders?
Yeah, a bunch of second graders. And part of what I would do is bring Mickey Mouse out for the Mickey Mouse March. And all the kids loved it and blah, blah, blah. And he would prance around the stage. Well, I introduced him. He came out and he tripped and his head fell off.
No.
Yes, the mouse's head flew off. And here's all of these kids screaming. They're going nuts,
And he's cussing. He's going,
"Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah." He's going, "God damn it. God damn it. God damn it." And that got picked up on the microphones. So it was wild. It was crazy, man. I'd forgotten about that.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
What happened to him? Did he get in trouble for that or?
Oh, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Everybody Yeah, we were lucky.
Yeah, I feel like it was a different time back then.
It was, for sure. You couldn't do any of that now, man. They'd fire you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like you should have been fired at least 5 times in your book.
Oh no, 15 or 20.
I mean, there's one of my favorite parts is for Halloween when you were leading the Disneyland band, you came out in masks.
Yes. Well, what I did is I went to the magic shop on Main Street that also sold Halloween masks, really nice ones. I mean, kind you put over your head. And so I thought, you know what, it'll be fun. So I told the guys in the band, before we stepped off, we were behind the gate. And I said, now look, when they open that gate, first of all, I said, keep your masks under your band coat that had a zipper. And so everybody had their masks under their coats, and they opened the gate, the Disneyland band, and then all of a sudden everybody put their masks on, and the company went nuts. They were after me forever. That was sacrilegious.
Yeah, I can imagine, but everything was fine.
But also, you were just showing off the merchandise.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah. At the end, you should. And you can buy these masks.
Yeah. Right.
Over at the magic shop.
Yeah. Should have done that.
You sound like the best boss ever, honestly.
Well, you know what? Being a musician, I had a real empathy for the musicians, and my parents were both musicians, so I kind of knew where they were coming from, and I respected their talent and what they do, and so they knew that, and I treated them with a lot of respect, just because I did, and the word got around, and the guys loved it, and to be a band member at Disneyland became kind of a big deal, because people loved doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, the band has always been very special to a lot of people. And you were obviously, instrumental, no pun intended, in forming the look of that and the feel of that. And you talk about coming from Disney World into Disneyland, you wanted to expand the band a little bit and make it give a fuller sound, but management sort of pushed back on that, if I remember correctly. And you're like, no, you want it to sound good, or this is how it has to be. And
I had other bands there playing, and so professional bands, Dixie bands, and a Cajun band, and whatever. So they were, it was expected that they were going to be good, and they were.
Yeah, they were. I have very few memories of going to Disneyland in those times, and the band was one of the things that always struck me and stuck with me is the and I guess it's music in general, which is why I'm so drawn to music. It's like the fact that people can play this kind of music and make it sound so effortless and look so effortless is appalling to me. Because I'm looking at myself playing the bass, and I'm going like, I can't. I'm all thumbs. We have a friend called Sam, and Sam is a genius. He's one of those dudes. I'm sure you've encountered hundreds of them. They can play by ear. They'll hear a music the first time and and he'll just like pick it out on the piano, and to me it sounds perfect. But he plays the guitar really, really well. But he's one of those dudes that sits there and he looks bored out of his mind. Like he's just shredding, and he's like, but he's so in the zone, I guess, or whatever. Like it comes too naturally to him. It's disgusting. I don't like him. But it's stuff like that where I go like, this is amazing. I don't know how people can do this. Music is fascinating to me, in that regard, and listening to the sounds that you make on the tuba. It's the same thing. It sounds incredible that the human mouth can make these sounds, and it sounds easy.
Yeah. Well, that's the trick. Make it sound easy.
Yeah.
And it worked, And it
worked.
My dad was really, like I say, he'd been a musician growing up, and then he taught band. When I was doing this, he was the band director at Edina. And so there was always mutual respect, and he kind of knew what we were capable of. as human beings and what we weren't. Because a corporate guy that doesn't know anything about music will have one of those small bands, standing on their head or wanting to, doing stupid stuff. But if the management respects musicians, then it's perfect, and they did. Disney was really good at that, I have to say. I was lucky.
Yeah, the show has to mean something, I think. Yeah, that's great. You talked about in different acts that you're hiring. I didn't know this, of course. Why would I? But you basically started Billy Hill and the Hillbillies, the famous, the most loved, act probably in Disneyland in the last 25 years.
Yeah, that's Disneyland. It wasn't Disney World,
right?
But Disneyland. Yeah, and I hired a guy by the name of Kirk Wall that was kind of an average guitar player, an average singer, but he was funny as hell, and he was animated. So I used him, and it was great. Everybody loved. They'd come over, and then the other musicians kind of went along with that, and they started doing crazy stuff. So without trying, I really had a real fun group of guys.
So when Disney decided to let them go, they didn't even tell you, did they?
No.
Yeah.
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 They were going to get rid of the band, but they didn't tell me, the company.
Because they knew you were.
They knew that I get support from all of the people in Los Angeles.
So when you finally did learn about it, you got them a job like the same day they were let go.
Yeah. Yeah. I was lucky.
You brought them to Knott's.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Dude, because I remember reporting on this, because we're also a highly respected journalist outfit. And I remember doing the news story on that, and it's like, whoa, those guys just went to Knott's, dude. How crazy is that? It's almost like I don't say a middle finger, but it's almost like a thumbing of the nose for sure.
Yeah.
And you did.
The interesting thing is now Tara and I book all the acts into Knott's.
Yeah.
And we have for a few years.
That's
so cool. We're out there all the time.
Oh, cool.
Man.
Yeah, it was lucky. They hadn't had anybody that really had expertise at putting groups together, and so it worked. I had fun, they had fun, and we're still out there. Yep. Tara and I still go out there 3 times a week. So we're still getting paid, and we're out there
giving a lot of bands good work.
Oh yeah, the deal that I always liked about my job was that I was able to give great employment to wonderful musicians, and that was something that I was so proud of, and rightfully so. There's all these great players, and there's no place to play, and so I was able to give them great jobs. And so that was nice.
Yeah, it's like you're giving back to the community.
Exactly.
I love that, man. I think that's really sweet.
Thanks.
So I have a question. Since we're kind of on this topic a little bit, I remember a couple of years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I think Disneyland did a whole overhaul sort of their marching band, didn't they? They kind of changed a lot of things, kind of brought in a lot of younger people. I'm curious how you felt about that whole situation.
Well, I just made sure that they all had good employment, and I was lucky because I was able to communicate with management, and I don't know why. I guess because I'm from Minnesota, but anyhow, I was.
How do you feel about the overhaul of the band, though, where they make them dance now? And
oh yeah, I mean now it's a whole different story. If I was there now, we'd all be fired in 20 minutes. They're doing all these choreographed things, which is fine. It's really fine, and the guests love it, but it just wasn't part of what I wanted to be a part of. So
yeah, I understand that. I wanted to chat a little bit because you're very open about it, and about your alcoholism, your struggle with that, and how that affected your work at Disneyland. Because I was very affected with that, as by your story as well. If that's okay to bring up real fast.
Yeah, I'll drink to that.
Jeez, man. um, one thing that got me is, is sort of, because I have a friend who seemed the very same way that you were when you were drinking, where it felt like, at least in your book, that nobody really knew what was going on, and you hit it really well, that you were just a fun guy, but inside you were hurting until it eventually blew up your life and you had to get help. And, thankfully you did. And, and you talk about that redemption story, and it's very beautiful in the book. But it sort of made me realize how much people who struggle with alcoholism, especially my friend, like I said, who's very, very similar in these regards, how much effort it takes to really like change. And your struggle with that stigma, or that self-perceived stigma of what an alcoholic was at that time, and maybe how that prevented you from getting help earlier, or how was that revelation to you, I suppose, is what
I checked myself in.
Patricia.
Yeah, my wife left, and so I had a lot of time to recoup. No, yeah, it was great. I mean, I really took that seriously, and went to AA meetings, and
you said like 3 times a day.
So. Yeah, 3 times a day.
Yeah.
AA meetings, because
I did that for several years.
Yeah, for a few years I did that. And I still go to an AA meeting every so often, and just to remember what I am. So I can't say enough about Alcoholics Anonymous. If you get a good group of people, man, you have that support, and because it's tough to quit drinking if you're an alcoholic. It's really tough.
Mm-hmm.
So
this Saturday's your 37th anniversary.
Oh yeah, this Saturday. I've been sober 37 years.
Brother, congratulations, man. That is no small feat, man.
Yeah. Yeah, there were times when I was wondering.
Yeah, I bet. I can imagine,
That's
man.
all part of it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you in the book, you tell this little blurb about being a lot of your drinking, it seemed to happen off hours, of course, but you were so hungover at work that you had to, for instance, marching down Main Street, you had to keep in the middle of the trolley tracks because you couldn't see straight.
Yeah, I would have. I forgot about that. Yeah,
wild, man. Well, and so I guess when you go back to the parks, first of all, do you go back to the parks?
Yes.
Do all these memories kind of come back to you about times that you did this, or maybe they're not so happy now, or what's your mind frame when you go back to the parks?
Well, the thing is that that's my whole being is the Disney theme parks. So I don't know anything else, and so I loved every minute of being sober and being there. And what was the time that I got drunk in the band? All the people came to watch me MC. Do you remember that?
No.
Well, there was one time when the band. Oh, I know what it was. They baked me a birthday cake. Huh? Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Okay, so there I am stoned, and then all the other musicians in the park heard that I was stoned, and they all came to watch me, and it was fun.
But when you go back now, how do you feel? A lot of times you talk about how they've made so many changes since you were there. Sometimes you'll say, "Oh, I think I quit at a good time," because since you've quit, they've done so many different things to the music and stuff there.
Yeah. They when I was there, I wouldn't let them get away with any of that stuff. And so I was kind of a strong voice in for the musicians and what they were doing. So it was fun for me, and I guess it was fun for all the guys.
Yeah.
And
now, a lot of the bands will say, nobody's giving us work. We don't have anything, there's nothing. And so, Stan will say, well, sorry, that's because I'm gone,
Yeah. Yeah. I was a pain in the butt for administration because I wanted to showcase all these musicians, and I wanted them to pay a decent, salary to these guys.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Living wage.
Yeah, so it was tough, man.
Yeah, and you are big on on institutional memory. So you would always say, Disney needs to remember what Walt wanted.
Yeah. And I call that institutional memory. That, you know what that is. But, so I always respect the band and what it's doing and the people that put it together. And it all works.
Yeah.
And it's still working.
Yeah. It's just different. And, I give you a lot of props for that. I mean, you came in, in your book, you came in 1983 and literally saved the Disneyland band. It sounds like it was on the chopping block for a while. The heads were at it. They were after it. I can't believe that. I couldn't imagine Disneyland without live music. I mean, that's, it's not, go ahead.
It was a period when corporate was not, they weren't into that. And so a lot of bands that would have normally been there weren't. So the thing that I was proud of was bringing live bands back into the park, giving these musicians good employment, and it worked.
Yeah, and not just the employment. You also brought in contractor bands too. Like After Dark.
Oh yeah, I had big bands. A bunch of big bands from the LA area that would come and work Saturday nights at Carnation Gardens. And so it got to be kind of a thing where a lot of people wanted to come out and see what I was doing with the band.
Yeah, it's a hot spot.
Yeah, it was fun, and the community was real good to me. I mean, they wrote the company. If there was something that was bugging me, some of those guys would write the company and stick up for me and what have you. So it all worked. That's the amazing thing. It all worked.
Yeah, it did. Well, and I think it's missed. And that's how it worked even more. You know what I mean? It's more of a fine point on it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is missed. Like when Taryn was saying, like when they sort of blew up the marching band, and now it's almost like a drum line kind of thing. It's different and there's still music, but it's not the same.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're exactly right. But I always made sure that the stuff that we were playing was exciting, even though there were marches. We'd march down Main Street. I'd take them a little faster than what they should be. And that kind of added a little excitement to the band going down the street, playing, kind of an exciting version of Semper Fidelis.
Yeah. So, well, we were talking about the Carnation Plaza for, just a little bit there. And it reminded me of a point in your book I wanted to bring up about the closing. And I'm a big softie, I'm kind of a jerk, but I also, I tear up every now and then. And the only point in your book, which I thank you for, I was tearing up at, you're talking about the closing, the last day of the Plaza Garden, the Carnation Plaza Garden, where you and Jason, your son, took the stage. You say, once the guest band had gone and the day guests had cleared out, Jason and I took to the stage for a short daylight concert. It literally lasted maybe 4 minutes. Jason played his sax, I played one of my tubas, and Jason's 3-year-old son, Tennessee, danced on stage next to us.
Yep.
3 generations of Freese men were on that stage at the same time.
Yep. Nobody in the audience. We were just doing it for us.
Yeah. And then, later on it says, this may not be in the Disney trivia books, but I can say without a doubt that Stan and Jason Freese were the last musicians to perform at the historic Carnation Plaza Gardens. And, and then you talk about who you're playing for. You're playing in memory of all the big band leaders and all the big band people that you were, were lucky enough to play with. And it was just a very touching moment, man. It was very sweet. And I don't know, that stood out a lot to me. And I teared up, not only reading it, Stanford, but I teared up writing out my notes to talk to you about it.
Well, that means a lot to me.
Yeah, well, that's good, man.
I'm better than I thought I was.
Well, that's, hey, I'm glad I could finally tell you. But yeah, when Carnation Plaza kind of went away, that was a big stink. We talked about that as too. And what I wanted to get your take on, and we're wind up here. I'll let you go. I've kept you a long time. I apologize, but there was a big stink about that stage being taken away. And I wanted to ask you, as a man who's seen a lot of changes in the parks, why do you think Disney fans kind of hold on to the past specifically in that park, I don't really think a lot of people, like if a town changes something or whatever, no one really cares. But when Disneyland changes anything, people get riled up, and even maybe now more so than they used to be because of social media. But what do you think that is, that desire to sort of hold on to the past, but also get excited about what's new? What's going on?
Well, because of all the things that go along with Disney and Walt, like the movies and the TV shows and what have you, that it all, it was all the way it was supposed to be, and it was fun for me to do that.
Yeah, and they probably people have have these memories from when they were children and being there. That's why when things change, you go, oh, that's gone away.
Right.
Yeah.
The audience, our standard audience from Southern California, they felt cheated, that the band was doing so little of what they used to do. But that was just, life. And I would say that it's come back a little bit.
Maybe.
But
what about like with the new changes they're doing now? That's good and bad.
Yeah.
At one point, they were talking about changing Main Street to a 1950s or something, right?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, forget it. Are you kidding me? There's no way the Disney fans would J6 Disney. There's no way, man. The yippies would come back and take over. Oh my goodness.
Right. You're exactly right.
That would be insane.
I wanted my sons to play on that stage just once, to say that they were on there.
Josh wasn't available, right?
Yeah, Josh. Well, I had Josh do it later.
Oh.
Our son Josh is in Green Day. No, I mean Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters, yeah.
And Jason was in Green Day. But it's fun having those kinds of really good leaders and record companies, and we always felt really lucky and gifted that we had that kind of cooperation from people that maybe the company wouldn't have done, except they got bitched at a lot.
Yeah. I look, man, what strikes me about your book mainly is a lot of threads, but the common one is, if I saw this book like as a movie or a TV show, I would be like, there's no way this happened. there's so much. I think that you could, like, even your stint as the band director at Edison High or whatever, you could probably, no joke, you could probably turn that into some kind of Hallmark like Christmas movie, where it's like, oh, I don't have time to find love because I need to pull the high school band together because it's the pride of the town, something like that. Like it would be so, well, Tubazar. It's so crazy. And you have all of these, like, you tell your story about Josh when he was about to be born, where you flag a police officer down and get a fucking police escort to the hospital.
Yeah,
wave him down, and it's like, what are you doing? And it gets better. Like, you have so many stories like this. Like, the other one that stuck out is going to Bulgaria. And I don't want to ruin the story for anybody in case you want to read it, but it's like, it involves art theft. I mean, maybe not really, but just stuff like this, Stan. You've had such a cool life, and you've been able to really share that love of music with a lot of people, probably more than you ever thought possible. And it's amazing. It's just you've had a good time, and you're still doing it.
Yeah,
you're still doing it.
Really blessed, it just worked for me in this incarnation. My next life, I'm not sure, but this life is good.
I encourage everyone to get the book. It's Music, Mayhem, and the Mouse. It's very good. I have like other audio clips, but we've been going so long. You did, just to name some stuff you did. You've been on Hee Haw several times. You've played, I was going to ask you before I found some clips. I was like, you should really do a song with the Vandals or one of Josh and Jason's band. It turns out you did.
Oh my gosh.
You played your Play the Country Tuba with the Vandals country album. And it's like, dude, what this is, I don't know. It's just, again, things in your life you can't write because they've already been done.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I say, when I know it sounds boring because I keep saying it, but I've really been blessed, man, to have these opportunities and people that believed in me, and so it just worked really well for me. I don't know, any other way to put it, but I'm so happy that my boys got a chance to experience some of that at Disneyland as entertainers.
Yep.
So
Especially
it worked out.
Josh.
Yeah, especially Josh.
Yeah.
They did stories on him, and now, like, he's with the Foo Fighters and Sting.
Yeah.
He was such a cool interview. I mean, I went into that obviously not having a book to lean on, just my love for the bands that he's been in, and so I sort of fangirled over it a little bit. But he just, he has so many stories. He just talked. And I was okay with that. I was like, this is great. This is the greatest. It was a very fun interview. And you can definitely tell where the charm comes from.
Well, yeah, his mom.
At least the mouth. His mom, yeah. Okay, well, the mouth comes from you, I guess.
Yeah, well, Josh, he's kind of naturally cool. He was born cool. And so,
he's a police escort.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. He's always got a book that he's reading,
journals.
He journals a lot. And so it's fun for me to see their lives turn out as well as they're turning out.
Yeah.
And are into drugs or booze, which is really.
And you didn't push either boy into music.
No.
They just gravitated.
I decided I wasn't, when they were young, I decided I was not going to push them into being a musician. And if they wanted to on their own, great, I would support it. But I certainly wouldn't over encourage it. And it just felt that they, were musicians at heart and got what they wanted. They play a lot,
Yeah.
That's excellent.
That's incredible.
And I do want to say, you keep saying that you're very blessed and you guys are very lucky. And I just want to say, in this very short time we've talked to you and that I've gotten to know you a little bit, I think it's also you seem to have this just great positivity about life. And I think that sounds to me like that's taken you really far, like a positivity and a confidence. And I think that's really excellent to hear.
Yeah, that's kind of always been my mantra, is to be encouraging and up all the time. And it's worked, I was able to give musicians a kind of a different view of themselves and what they're doing. And so it's great. And like I say, my kids are really into it. I mean, Josh is what, 50?
51.
51. Oh, man. Anyhow, so he's still doing Sting and the Foo Fighters. And Jason's still doing Green Day and the other stuff he does. So, we are, I hate to keep saying it, but the three of us are really blessed.
I think every one of our grandchildren, which we have 6, are all doing music.
Yeah.
Except Hunter. He's an artist.
Right. But Tennessee, our grandson Tennessee, he's a great little sax player. Mm-hmm. And we didn't do anything. We didn't push him. That's Jason's son. Yeah. And he plays like crazy now. And he's 14.
All of Josh's kids are in music, everybody.
Yeah. And the thing is, they kind of morphed into it. We had it around the house or whatever, but I never did say, hey, I want you guys to be a tuba player.
No, I think they said $5,000 if you learn to play the tuba.
Yeah.
And they all looked at you and went, huh?
Yeah, I did. I told him that one time because nobody was doing it. And I said, look, whoever takes the tuba and really follows it for 2 or 3 years, I'm giving you $5,000. That still didn't do it.
No.
Oh, wow.
Maybe if you threw in one of your Corvettes.
Yeah, right.
That would have done it probably.
Yeah.
Stan, can I keep you another couple of minutes? I have just a little standard set of questions that I ask everybody. It's sort of like inside the actor's studio, but dumber. If you wouldn't mind.
No.
All right, here we go. First one is, what is your favorite Disney attraction?
Probably Thunder Mountain would be one of them. And, Small World, I guess, it's just, it's such a tradition.
Classic.
Yeah, classic. So
what about your least favorite Disney attraction?
how much time have you got? I haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
My least favorite is
Maybe the little train, Casey Jones or whatever.
Yeah, I guess I never looked at it as being favorites or not favorites.
Yeah.
I just looked at it as being surrounding and engulfing my life with these attract small world,
Yeah, I guess that's you have the most unique take on it because you've been there so long. Like we've had, we talked to Don Dorsey.
Oh yeah.
We've talked to a lot of people and who visit the park or whatever, but you
lived there.
Yeah, you kind of spent, your children basically grew up there over the summers, but you spent most of your adult life at these parks. So I guess it hits different a little bit for you.
Yeah, it is. And it just worked that way. And I was comfortable with that. And they were comfortable with me. So away we went.
All right. Well, I'll change these a little bit then. What old ride should they bring back to the parks? What old ride do you miss the most?
Huh. Oh, let me think about that.
Yeah.
What?
The buckets.
Oh yeah, the bucket rides.
Yeah, the sky.
Yeah, the sky rides.
Bucket. Yeah, whatever it is.
I don't know what it was called.
Eric, what's it called? You're a nerd.
Skyway.
Skyway. Yeah, the Skyway buckets. There you go. Yes, Eric is a
Thanks. I'm on the show too. Yes. The nerd who knows the name of the thing.
I keep talking. I'm sorry.
Or I would put maybe 4 or 5 musicians in one of those carts, and then 4 or 5 in the cart next to it. I made sure the musicians complimented each other. But then they would go down. They would go down Disneyland playing from the sky buckets.
How did that sound?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
Did that sound good at all?
No.
I love that part. That Stan, this is Eric, the nerd of the group here. I absolutely love that portion where you tried to reinvent the notion of having the band on like the carousel and playing, right. And you kept going around the park trying to find ways to do it in different places, and it never worked.
Yeah, yeah, mostly it worked, but when it did work, it really worked.
Right.
And, so the company let me experiment a lot. They were really good to me, and as a result, we did some fun, wild things.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
And then finally, my final question: if you could travel back in time and meet Walt Disney, what would you tell him?
I need more money.
That is probably the best answer we've ever gotten.
Yeah,
that's a good question.
Thanks.
I guess I would spend most of my time thanking him.
Yeah.
For everything that he's done for the world. So, and I really feel that way. It was just timing, but his timing was great, and the things that he did, were just it revolutionized childhood.
Well, you know what? That's a good turn of phrase, Stan. I revolutionized childhood,
and that is
like
so
that.
true.
It is true.
Extremely accurate for my life personally.
Yeah. Oh, good.
I know you feel that way, and I know you're honest about it, and it comes through in your book, Music, Mayhem, and the Mouse. Go to your local bookstore and request them to buy it, or buy it wherever you can. It's a great read, and there's so much more that we haven't covered in here. Like Stan was responsible for the Pleasure Island revamp in Disney World, book and live acts for Downtown Disney. He filled in for Santa one year. Like, this man does it all.
Yeah.
And I
hired the Santa Clauses for years, and one day they came to me. I was up in my office doing stuff, and they came and said, "Stan, Santa is sick." This is 20 minutes or a half hour before the parade. They said, "You've got to do it." So I went, "Okay." So I went down, and they put me in the Santa Claus suit with the beard and everything else, and away we went. I had a good time doing it. But one of my Santa Clauses that I had would take a pint of vodka and he would put it under his beard, the long white beard. And then so often he would just like turn a certain way, bend over, and take a hit off of that vodka. And no one ever knew what he was doing.
Yeah, how did you catch him? You just saw him or something?
Yeah, I just saw him doing it.
Oh,
So,
no.
yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
that.
That's
Yeah.
amazing, man. That is awesome. Yeah, you have these cute little anecdotes, like when you were the first streakers at Walt Disney World.
Yeah, I was.
You and Dale Schilling.
Yeah, myself and a guy named Del Schilling that came down there to Disney World with the entertainment division. But yeah, for sure. You
Yeah.
know,
Through the which hotel was it? It was the suites at, I just lost the page. I forget now.
oh, well, it had to be the Disneyland Hotel or the
Contemporary?
No, that was Florida.
Oh, no, this was Florida where you.
Florida.
Oh, yeah, where I streaked. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Disney World, the hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just says executive condos. So
Oh, yes.
wherever
Oh.
that is.
Ah, I forgot about that, man.
Yeah. You know what? I forgive you because
Yeah,
you've had so much.
The way the suburb was situated is that there were no fences from one house to another, and you could just go from one backyard into the next backyard into the next backyard.
Yeah.
So I would do that drunk, and people would try and catch me, and they couldn't do it. And, oh man. Oh man.
They tried to catch me, they couldn't do it.
Yeah. And the top, well, that's when
What?
Josh was
Oh, you
born.
mean, that time. Yeah, when you
When
got
I
the
stopped, yeah, I got Josh. My wife's water broke, and so I said, "Okay, we better get going." And so we all got in the car, and all of a sudden, for some reason, a cop happened to go in front of us in this neighborhood. I don't know what he was doing, but I stopped him, and I said, "Hey, my wife is having a child right now," which was not quite the truth. I said, I need an escort.
Mhm.
So they turned on the siren, they turned on the lights, and they took me so fast down to the hospital, I thought I was going to die.
You thought Trish she was going to die because here she is ready to have the baby, and you're going over railroad tracks.
Oh,
at
I know. It
100
was,
miles an hour.
yeah, my wife, poor my wife.
Poor Tricia.
Yeah.
Tara's like, I'm glad I missed that part. That was,
Yeah,
Yeah.
really. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Tara, you tell the story about how you guys fell in love and how you met at downtown Disney, which is so cute.
Aw.
It's such a cute. It's very cute. I don't know, man. You've had a cute life. I love that.
I really have.
Yeah.
And, and Tara has added so much class to my life.
he says that because I'm right here next to him.
Yeah. If you're in punching distance, I bet.
I had a lot of class, but it was all low.
Yes. Yes, that's right. Stan, we'll let you go, man. It's getting late. I don't want to keep it too long. I appreciate it, man. You're taking the time. Doing this was. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, so I really do appreciate it very much.
I appreciate you guys for having me on. So thank you.
Anytime.
Yeah.
And Tara, thank you very much for facilitating as well.
Great. It was fun listening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. Good.
Yeah, you guys are great. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, man. You know what? I'll send you the link of the show if you want, whenever I get it edited and
Yeah, it'd be
make it
great.
sound better.
It'd
Yeah.
be great.
What's that shirt you have on?
Oh, this is a shirt that I made. It's like the band The Misfits.
Uh-huh.
It's a logo, but instead of the Crimson Ghost from the movie or whatever, it's Bob Chapek.
Oh,
And it says Chapek because my thing, I co-opt churros into our thing a lot, our show, and Bob Chapek because he got crapped on a lot, and people were like, "Oh, I'm so glad he's gone." And then Bob Iger's here doing the like worse, and it's just like, well, okay, what's gonna happen? So, just it's my way of thumbing my nose at people who don't like Bob Chapek for like no, I don't know. People, I think Disney fans think that CEOs have a lot more control than they really do.
Yeah.
Or like projects that get, like Iger's in his office going, what can we do now? And then the next day it happens or whatever. Like things take years to do. So my opinion is Chapek sort of got the rough end of the stick there for a little bit. Not that he was like a great leader, but
right. Yeah, I agree.
Dynamic at all. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. So I thought it'd be fun to make this shirt that nobody bought. So it's fine. I make a lot of my own clothes. It's really just, I print them up and it's like, all right, this is what I'm wearing.
That's great. Good for you.
I guess. Yeah.
I really had a good time with this. Thank you.
Oh,
thanks
and
of us and doing this, and I appreciate it so much.
And thanks. Would you mind if I reached out later on and get you back on for a second show?
No, let's do it next week.
All right.
I would do it. There's so much more to talk about.
Yeah. No, I'd love to. This is fun because
Sweet.
a lot of people that interview me aren't as good as you.
Oh.
And, so it makes it hard on me to be interviewed by someone that is kind of like disaccorded. But this has been great.
What's going on.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you.
I'm keeping this in the show. I'm not cutting this out. Now you're making me blush and making me feel good about myself, and I don't know what to do with that information. Because once we hang up and we take a break, I'm gonna be like, "Oh my god, I failed. It sucks, and he hates me."
No.
Yeah, you can't compliment Jason that much. This is a lot.
No, we're great. You guys were great.
Man.
You asked the right questions and you gave me time to answer them. So.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm trying. I'm really interested. So yeah, we'll let you go. I'll wrap everything up. I'll send you a link, and we'll I want to stay in touch for sure and get you guys back on.
Go on from here. If you have any questions about Disney or whatever, just call me at home. I don't have to be on the radio, but call me anytime if you have questions about anything with Disney.
Stan, I will message you on LinkedIn tomorrow and get your phone number. What are you talking about? That's crazy. Thank you, dude. That's
my phone.
Yeah, give them to me.
You want my phone number?
Oh, not right now. We're still on the air.
Oh, okay.
To everyone.
Here, let me go to. Well, I can't mute you. I can't. I will. Okay. Let me message you. Let me message you tomorrow.
Okay.
Is that
perfect.
Cool? All right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Perfect.
Sweet.
Thanks so much, you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
This was fun for us for sure.
Bye.
I can't wait. Thank you very much. We'll let you guys go. We're going to take a quick break, everyone. We're going to come back and take a breather.
How do we?
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see you guys.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, we're taking a break.
Oh man.
We'll be back. I need to go, I don't know, soak my head for a second. Back and we'll talk about it. This one.
Back to Ears Up, where the opinions never stop. Ever.
Dude.
That was incredible.
I had to get a beer. I mean, like, I don't know, Stan here says I didn't have to get one. Stan, but I did.
Oh, I loved him so much.
Dude.
That was great.
That was so good. Oh my God, it was so good. And like I'm not used to this feeling after a show that I did a good job.
Like happy?
Yeah. Yeah. like happy in what I did.
Yeah. You did great. And
nobody makes me feel this way, Taryn. Like the way Stan does.
It's not my job to make you
feel happy. But Stan did. Okay, I'll always compare you to Stan and how he made me feel that one day.
Oh man, and he's celebrating with a celebration. Wow.
Yeah, well, you know what? I pulled this out of the fridge and I go, "It's a celebration, bitches." Like, whatever. Here's some music that I got for that I put together for Stan, but we just didn't get to it. This is what I'm saying.
There's so much.
400-page book.
I can see why. He just is such a good storyteller, and like just well, and he's a good storyteller, but also just the stories themselves are so insane.
Right.
I'm not exaggerating at all when I say, if you put this in a movie, you would not believe it. Even one of these stories, you would go, that's hack writing. There's no way this happened. Get the fuck out. Oh,
I'm sorry, but the New Year's baby story, like,
that's not even in the book.
Well,
that's not even in the book.
Or it was Taryn mentioned, I'm assuming it was Taryn who mentioned in the chat, like how Jason was laughing while reading the book. I'm reading passages to my wife as I'm reading the book too. Like, okay, get this. He's moving to LA and he goes to his fiance and says, "Hey, I'm moving to LA." And somebody stole his car with his tubas in it.
Oh.
His two extremely expensive famous tubas.
Well, yeah, and there's a whole passage in there, a whole section about before he did that, he was like teaching underage, he was teaching under privileged kids in Chicago.
Yeah.
Program. And he had all his stuff in his car. And it was that, maybe I'm confusing the two, but anyway.
Well, he did get run out of town. Like,
ran out of town.
Yeah.
I forget why. Oh, it was Martin Luther King Jr. had got assassinated.
Right.
And so the teachers or the other students or whatever at that place knew him. He was the only white person around. And they were like, look, because of your skin color, people might be coming for you. So we're going to have to sneak you out. So he was like, ran out the back of the thing, jumped in someone's car. And I think they switched cars or something like that. It's like, again, you would see this. I would see this in a movie and I would look at you and go, that would never happen. That would never. Are you kidding me? Just because he's white? Come on. But it happened.
It happened.
Stuff like that, dude. It's bizarre and wild. And it's such a great book. And I can sit here. I have pages marked about just like little quips and stuff.
We've been talking about this for weeks now, trying to get him on and trying to get this put together. And Jason and I were texting earlier today, like, okay, here's what we've got to go over. And I've got all these notes about things that we never even got to.
No, and I thought about it the whole interview.
Oh no, and I kept trying to find a way to fit it in, and then I went, why? We've got gold here. Why push it? Why try to put in my thing? Why talk about Pleasure Island? Why talk about Tokyo Disneyland? If he's going to come back, sure, we could talk about it then.
I would love to have him back.
But yeah, we talked about enough.
Yeah.
Oh man. This is one of those episodes where I'm just sitting here going, I'm listening to my favorite podcast.
Me too. I was doing that too. I was just like, oh yeah, that's right. Sometimes maybe I talk.
It was good. And just, like when I was laughing when he was like, yeah, they tried to catch me, but they couldn't or whatever. I'm like, I died. And that's the kind of the voice that he has in this book. It's really good. It's really
gosh.
Funny. I guess I don't want to like oversell it. It's just very honest. It's a very honest take on a man's life and his career, and he's still doing it, right? So, and that's the beauty of it. It's like you meet people who say they love music, but this man has taught music at the highest levels, at the lowest levels. He's toured the world playing music, and it's just he talks about like when he retired from Disney, he was still booking bands for Downtown Disney for free because he just loved doing it, and he had that passion for just making sure musicians got gigs.
Right.
Yeah, and he's such an advocate for it too. Like it was funny. I didn't want to go too deep into it, so I didn't really speak up. But like when they were talking about how he was so committed to making sure that those musicians got paid right and got what they needed and all of that stuff. And Tara at one point even said something about like getting a living wage. And it's funny because like back when he was doing this, that was a novel concept.
Well, yeah, a musician making a career out of being a musician
at Disneyland,
right?
No less.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy's a virtuoso. I mean, reading the things that he has done, and I need to look up some of the performances that he references in the book where the thing that sticks with me is where he writes about how one of his like audition tapes was playing the piccolo part from Stars and Stripes Forever on the tuba. For a band geek, you know the counter melody in Stars and Stripes Forever, and you know the piccolo part, and you know it's the and thinking of him playing that on a tuba is in freaking credible.
Well, here, let's play. So this, I think this song here is his Play That Country Tuba Cowboy, I think is what it's
Cowboy,
called.
yes.
So this is a song he talked about writing and then sent in to his friend who worked at Hee Haw. This is how we got on Hee Haw. But then he re-recorded it with the Vandals. So so it fades in. I did a Jeremy where it like, you know, you fade in with the original and then you go into the remake.
Okay.
Well, musician stories have made the rounds about traveling bands and honky-tonk towns, but for tuba players, this has got to be a first. Well, this one starts like they all do. I've been traveling hard for a day or two, and I stopped at this joint to quench my thirst. Up walked this big mountain man, said, "What you got there, a garbage can?" I said, "Excuse me, that's my tuba, if you please." He said, "Great, play a country song so me and my buddies can sing along." And I told him I only play with symphonies. He slammed his fist and spit out his beer, and his body language made it very clear this wasn't going to be just another B-flat day. That's when he cocked his 30-06, and boy, I let out with some country licks I never thought I'd hear my tuba play.
What a
Just
wild song.
Funny, like kind of like a David Allan Coe story kind of thing. It's good. I like it. It's fun.
Very silly.
Yeah. And then I just had some other stuff that he recorded off an album called Tuba is Beautiful. This one I think is Tennessee Waltz. Nerd will correct me. Is that what it is, Eric?
Oh, I'm nerd.
You're nerd,
Oh.
yeah. Well,
Oh,
who
I
was
thought-
referring to Taryn.
Yeah. I don't know anything.
I knew you were.
Curse you. Another one
Petros.
off that same album. I think it's called like Fat Tuba or something like that. I wrote it. I have it on my board, but it's like truncated, so it just has Stan Freese over and over again, and not the name of the actual song. So that's me not knowing.
Just Stan Freese over and over.
Yeah.
It could be Tennessee Waltz. I don't actually know that song, but
Right.
it sure
Well, this one's
sure
called,
sounds
like-
like one.
This one's called like Fat Bottom or something.
It's like yakety sax, but with a tuba.
Oh man. Oh, you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to keep playing the credits to or the song to Deep Throat, because I swear to God, there's a melody for a Christmas song in here.
Yes.
This. What song is this?
What is that song?
It's Ode to Joy. That's Beethoven.
It's Beethoven. On kicks. I don't know, man. But just look it up. Just look it up. Deep Throat opening credit. You can just look up DT opening credits if you don't want to pervert your search. It is everything you've ever thought about a porn opening classically, where there's like a part where she's like walking on the shore or whatever. She just gets in a car and it's one take and it's like 30 seconds of her walking. The camera pans and she walks around the car, doesn't cut. And it's like inside the car moves and she stops, like the car stops. And then you see a boat on the water and there's no cut. And then it keeps going and then the car moves and it's just bad. It's just so bad.
The 70s loved lingering on just movement for several minutes in every movie.
It's very that's what I say sometimes about like storytelling back then in the 70s and 80s was very different than it is now. So movies don't really hit the same way sometimes. Also, like at some point in the credits, there's a hair in the gate. You know, whenever you see like a hair in like an old movie, it's on the gate of like where the camera, you know, shooting the film is, right? It's a hair in the gate. So it's really gross. Oh. Anyway, Ode to Joy. Thank you very much. See, I knew having a nerd would pay off eventually.
Yes. I did 2 things tonight.
Get him, Dottie.
I love motorcycles. I think they're the coolest.
Oh no. The Hatbox Coast is now green.
Oh yeah. I'm lighting things up. Anyway, that's what's going on, everybody. Let's get back to our normal.
Summer is just around the corner, and our friends at the 21st Amendment Brewery are welcoming the warmer weather with open arms and a refreshing favorite, Hell or High Watermelon Wheat. Picture this: a sunny day, the smell of barbecue in the air, and a cold, crisp Hell or High Watermelon in your hand. It's the ultimate summertime companion, perfect for those unforgettable gatherings with friends and family. But what makes Hell or High Watermelon so special? It's not just its bright straw color or tight white bubbles. No, it's the subtle blend of wheat beer with a hint of sweet biscuit and a kiss of juicy watermelon that sets it apart from the rest. With its refreshing flavor and delightful light fruit notes, Hell or High Watermelon is bound to become your go-to summer beer. And at just 4.9% ABV, you can enjoy it all day long without missing a beat. So when you're looking for that perfect beverage to complement those sunny days and backyard barbecues, look no further than Hell or High Watermelon Wheat. Find it wherever great craft beer is sold and make this summer one to remember.
One more thing about Stan. In this book, this is what he was trying to talk about. He was remembering a little bit about like throwing a party and getting a bunch of people drunk. He referenced.
Okay.
I think he was talking about, and I see now I'm a Stan Freese historian. When he was working at Edison High School and doing the marching band, he was like such a popular teacher that he would let his students borrow his Corvette.
Oh my gosh.
And just like run errands or whatever. And they would be super respectful and they would come back and it would be like washed. Well, at one point, they installed a brand new 8-track player with speakers in the door. They bought him they upgraded his car stereo. And he's like, I'm not asking how they
bought.
How they afforded it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
But he goes, because I was the new guy on staff, I was selected to put together a little party for a few retiring teachers in the spring, a responsibility that irked me to no end. When you're young and a bit arrogant like I was, you sometimes think you're above such things like laying out punch and cookie trays for the faculty. To alleviate some frustrations, I decided to spike the punch with 190 proof Everclear grain alcohol.
Wow.
Everclear, and he didn't buy Oreo. He bought the off-brand.
Oh, this
cookies.
guy. I love him.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so he was in I guess it was in a dry county, or Everclear was prohibited in Minnesota, so he had to like drive across state lines to buy it. And just the level of dedication to some of these pranks he pulled. And he says, after about half an hour, I realized I may have treated the teachers to a little too much alcohol because some of my victims became emotional, actually breaking down and crying.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, how funny.
So many great stories in this book.
Can I tell you, though, that he didn't mention this, and you haven't mentioned this, so I'm not sure if you know this, but in front of his house,
Oh yeah, the tuba tree.
he has a tuba tree that is apparently like an attraction. Like it attracts people to come and take pictures in front of.
Yeah, and I guess and it's like out there. So I guess he lives in Seal Beach.
Oh really?
Which is where my grandma was at, and I meant to bring that up.
Oh wow.
When she was at Seizure World. And yeah.
It's so funny.
Who would have known?
Tuba tree. It's just a tree with a bunch of tubas in it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I don't know. I don't know what to say now.
I think
I'm just relaxing.
Yeah.
I'm basking in the glow. If you want to bask in the glow of park information like I just have or something like that, if you want to walk the Stan Freese trail and you want to go to Disney World and then go over to Disneyland, you can do one or both, whatever you want to do. Contact Concierge. You go to concierge.com and they'll book your flight. They'll book all the hotels. You just tell them where to go or tell them when you want to go and give them your credit card. They'll handle all the rest. They'll help you along your way. They'll book reservations for you for dining, for anything you want to do. Actually, Anthony, my nephew Anthony, is going to Disneyland in June. So I'm like, okay, you got to hit up Concierge. There
Absolutely.
You go. And so that'll be fun for him.
Nice.
I was like, look, you don't have to do anything. He goes, I like not doing stuff. And I go, yeah, this is perfect.
Perfect.
That's what you got to do, man. Don't do a single thing. Because he's asking me, he goes, actually, this might be a good topic to chat about real fast. And then we'll get out of here. He's like, yeah, I'm going with my partner and her like 2 kids. And they're, I don't know, 10 and 14 or something like that. He goes, I want to make a big splash. I want to splash out for them. Do we go to the Grand Californian? Or do we stay at the hotel we usually stay at? The difference is like $2,000 and they're only going to be there for like 2 nights. Like it's insane. It's like $800 a night for the Grand Californian or whatever they're going.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Oh, I mean, if it's only 2 nights, go all out.
Yeah. Well, I think it's 2 nights because that's all they can afford. They have a budget. They have a budget of like $5,000. And so
a lot of that is going to hotel.
Right. So his thing was like, I can either spend it on hotel and then limit what we can do in the park, or because I want to splash out, we can do a bunch of stuff in the park and I don't have to worry about, then we can stay somewhere else. And
maybe do a kick and rad tour in the park and do some really great meals. Yeah.
That's
And
what I'm
stay
saying.
at like a Marriott close by and still have a nice enough room. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I told him. I go, look, if you want to go out and drop cash on these kids and like, sort of, give them a really nice vacation, then I would do that. I would stay off site.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to go back to the hotel, because in my opinion, if you're staying at the California or if you're staying on the resort, the only reason to do that is if you're going back during the day at some point to then go back to the park at night.
Yeah. You're going to go hang out at the pool.
Yes.
You're going to go sit around in the lobby and read a book. I don't know,
Yes.
but yeah.
But you're with, Anthony's kind of basically a child anyways. So he's not gonna want to go home either, although he is, in pain all the time.
And
so,
I gotta say, as somebody who was a child once,
barely,
I have experience in this,
Yeah.
and I absolutely loved staying in hotels. It was like such a fun part of going on a trip.
Sure.
But I could not tell you what hotel it was. It's just the fact that you're in a hotel that's fun and exciting. I don't think it matters to a kid what hotel it is.
Oh yeah.
No. And I think his question was like, would the kids care? And I said, probably not.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, because they're going to want to be at the parks, especially if they got, sugar daddy hooking them up with, money.
They'd rather get the toys than.
Yeah. He's like, because I could then, like the boy and I can do like the lightsaber thing. I'm like, then that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
They
Go
don't
for
care
that.
about the
Yeah.
That's the bonding
For
part
sure.
too. Yeah.
Oh,
That's the right choice.
There you go. I think that's.
We solved it.
Yeah. We solved it.
I have one last thing to say, because I've been now staring at pictures of this tuba tree because I'm fascinated. And there's a picture of Stan and Tara is beautiful.
Gorgeous, right?
Oh my God.
She used to be a model for like 20 years or something
Stan
like that.
is a lucky guy.
Yeah.
He's just got luck around him.
His first wife was pretty too. And
I haven't seen her, but yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's doing good, man.
What a great guy. What a great life.
He talks about being single for like 17 years. And he's like, I don't know if I was ready. And then I met her and I was like, okay, I'm ready now. That's nice.
That is
That's sweet. I mean, it's a lot sweeter in the book
I'm sure.
than I put.
Oh
it.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's get out of here, huh?
All right. What a fun show.
It was. It was
Absolutely
good. Yeah. And once again, my genius shone through.
Yes. Got some sound clips from Stan too that you can use over and over again.
I know. Like, you asked all the right questions. I tell you, you know what? And I want this. See, but here's how I'm going to ruin it. Here's exactly here. I'm going to stop the music.
Let's
tell you how I'm going to ruin it. Because maybe, what if it was terrible? No. Get this. What if it was awful, but he was just building me up? Because that's what he does. Because he's such a good teacher.
He is a good teacher, but he also wants to give you his phone number. So
He's like, you want me to give you my phone number right now? Like, no.
On the air.
Your way out of this one. You
Just call me
did
whenever.
a good job.
Can you imagine?
He likes you a lot.
Call me. Any questions you have, just call me. I'm home.
And you know
Bro.
what? After talking to him, he's 100% genuine on that.
Absolutely.
He's just the best.
He talks in his book a lot about, you know, people, like, he helps people with money, whatever. Like, he just helps people any way that they can. And again, it reminded me of Rolly, where Rolly's wife, I forget her name now, where she was like, yeah, Rolly said, any questions you have, just email us. So we'll tell you all about it. And I actually was able to.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fun people. I love it.
maybe there's hope for me yet.
Maybe.
All right, everybody, we are taking off. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it. Thank you so much to Stan. Music, Mayhem, and the Mouse, My Tubazar Life. Buy this book. It's a great book. If you like Disneyland park history with a lot of humor and humility, to be honest, in here, it's a fantastic read. It's an easy read. I read this book in a week. Most of it in a week. I did start it a little bit sooner, but I crushed this book. It's great. It's a fantastic book.
He was actually literally laughing out loud. Like,
Yeah.
I can confirm.
Yeah. Me no read so good either. We are on Twitch. So go to twitch.tv/EarzUp. Follow us over there. I'm going to be releasing a schedule here soon. Things I'm going to do over there. I'm going to do some research streaming. I'm going to do some Disney adjacent games, some indie games, just kind of like sit down and play and chat basically. So if you want to chat, hang out, watch or play some games, or, you know, do whatever. Eventually I might stream the show there too. So that'll be fun also. But we're getting a little following on Twitch. So go ahead and follow us over there. That'd be really great. Let me see if I did this chat too. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Everything else, we have a website. You know what it is, EarzUp-podcast.com. Connect with us. And until next time, we'll see. See, I can't end now. I got to start my music all over.
Oh, no.
One more time.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Until next time, we'll see you in the parks.